Okay, this is the worksheet to prepare or compile the expenses or business expenses in preparation of the Canadian or U.S. income tax return. It's a very simple worksheet. It includes a sheet for expense codes, and you can see that the expense codes, in this case, it being an example of an Ontario taxpayer, Ontario, Canada. Okay, it has exactly the same codes you find in the federal income tax return. It has an input sheet where you enter the expense code of the invoice, the amount of the invoice, and the HST will be computed. For example, an invoice with code number 3 and the amount being $113, the HST gets computed, and if you go to the report, you can see that advertising has been charged by $100, and down below there is an amount for GST or HST, that is, in this case HST, that is refundable, and there's also a check, okay, to make sure that everything is allocated and works correctly. If you go back to the input, the sequential number here being number 3, that's the number that you transcribe on the invoice, and your invoices are then filed according to the number assigned. So eventually, if the tax authority wishes to see an invoice, you can always get back to the invoice amount, get back to the number, and pull it out of your filing system. There's a last worksheet here for documents. If you bought a truck or a computer, you can always input or copy the invoice as a PDF in here when you send everything to your accountant, so your accountant can complete your tax return correctly. If we use an example, this one being the Ontario example, and we input a series of codes, for instance, you'll see how the reporting works. If you take a look, if you had inputted all of these amounts, all of a sudden your report would look like this, and you can see that the system in this case makes a difference between the HST collected and the HST paid for Ontario. If you're a Quebec resident or another provincial like British Columbia or a US resident, we always customize the worksheet so that it works for you. It's not just a standard worksheet that works for everybody. It is customized. So if you don't have any taxes because it's a rental operation, or if you have different state taxes or different amounts because the tax rates are different, the worksheet is customized. In the expense code, you can always add another expense code in here, and this expense code becomes available and stays with you. And as you see in the report, this equipment has now been added to the report, and if you input an amount, it will go under equipment. So you can add expense code for your residence and expense codes for your truck or your automobile. There is a business mileage proportion here. In this case, it's 75%. That's to make sure that the taxes that are refunded, especially like in Canada, being a country that applies HST and GST in some of the provinces, the proper amount of taxes are collected, because the expense is not necessarily the same as the amount of the invoice. Again, it's very simple, it's customized. So if you wish to have a copy, a customized copy, this is the email that you should be addressing your request. We'll get in contact with you, customize it, and send it for you. Thank you for the time. Thank you for your attention.